Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Small Biz Diaries. I'm here with Johanna. She is the founder of a talent management agency. She is going to be talking to us all about showing up every day and how sometimes that's very unsexy, but it could be the secret to just building business success and the longevity of that. So I'm super excited to talk about this, especially because it's something that I've been struggling with recently, just because of life and external factors. And I think that I genuinely want to have this conversation not only for others who have struggled with this, but also to really untap what that has meant for you during your journey and how others might find that relatable. So, yeah, welcome to Small Biz Diaries. It's good to have you here.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. We've been building, Esperanza and I have been building towards this for a little while. So it's nice to finally be able to have this conversation.
Yes, I agree. So I would love if you could start off by letting the audience in a bit in terms of how you even got to this point where you have your own business and you have your own talent management agency. Give us the key points or the markers that have made a difference within your journey.
So I am definitely an accidental entrepreneur. Never set out to work for myself. I was living in Barcelona, Spain after doing a lot of traveling. This was back in 2011 and, just need to make some more money. I was teaching English and was wanting to be more of a contributing member to society, use my brain and actually have more money coming this way than going that way. And so I launched a nutrition coaching business as a health coach, which was what got me started in entrepreneurship. Fast forward to 2000 and 15 or so, 15, 16, 2015. And I was now doing fractional COO work. So I had a number of clients on retainer. I was working behind the scenes, helping to support their business. And a woman reached out to me to ask for help. I had a 2-day strategy session, sort of deep dive intensive program. So I went down to Florida. She was my first peek behind the curtain of what is an influencer? Okay, what do you do? How does this work? How do you partner with brands? How much do you charge? The whole thing. I had actually been doing talent management work for one of my other clients on retainer in the fractional operational space, but didn't really realize it because she did some brand partnerships and speaking stuff. So I organized all that for her. But working with Lorraine when she brought me down to Florida, that was my first real sort of, like I said, pull back the curtain and kind of just dove right in to what talent management was. And when I left there, she asked me to be your manager. So I said yes without really knowing what that meant. I just knew that her and I got along like a house on fire. I love that woman. I still do to this day. I am so grateful for her for starting me officially on this journey with talent management and for trusting me, and just how it's all unfolded is really just a testament to trusting the process and trusting your gut. But that was the beginning of it. My agency grew via word of mouth. And then in 2018 or 2019, I just decided to go full-time in talent management. I wrapped up all my retainer clients and kind of just did that all full-time of doing, because I was like, well, if it doesn't work, and I would just go back to the other stuff and, I'll figure it out. I love new stuff. I love a challenge. So it was just really appealing to try something new. I love my clients. They make talent, your roster can make it or break it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky. I'm obsessed with my roster and I love them deeply. And then actually last year in 2023, 2024, I went back and started doing some more fractional operations, consulting, strategy work with other boutique talent managers. So kind of fun how the two worlds, one led to the other, and then they kind of got remarried again. So
Yeah.
now I do both.
Yeah. I love being able to hear some of those key points because I think it's so important for anybody that's thinking of starting a business or even in the beginning stages of starting a business,
Mm-mm.
because obviously the evolution of what you're doing now wasn't the plan from the
No,
beginning.
no, there was no plan. There was no plan.
Right, right. And that's okay. That's totally okay. How did showing up, no matter what stage you were in, right, with whether it was your coaching or anything like the fractional COO, how did that continue as a common theme for you?
It wasn't until I leaned more into the fractional COO work, because when I was doing nutrition coaching, I started to do fractional COO work on the side, but
Okay.
it was always just projects that people asked me to help with. So it's sure, I'll just help you with this. I didn't see it as valuable of a service as it was. And it wasn't until I did when I was like, wait a second, this is something that I'm really good at. People are always paying me for it. I was kind of just like, oh, sure, this is super easy. Like, I'll help you. Right. And then for them, it was like, they're not good at time management or project management, like just figuring things out and launching products and courses and programs and stuff. And so I kind of like had a very good high level grasp of that, but then also understanding like, okay, well, here's your plan of like today, this week, this month, next month, like here's all the things you have to do. So it wasn't until I've been doing both of those things for a few years that I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, this is a real thing. When they say, what do people ask you for? What do people want to pay you for? Like, what do people come to you for advice on? Like, those are valid questions to think about. Obviously, not all the answers are relevant to your business entrepreneurial life, but for me, it very much was a moment of like, something comes easy to us. It's easy just to be like, that, like, sure, I can help you with that. Like, bada bing, bada boom, right? You do it in an hour for someone else who's been struggling for like weeks. I'm just not giving that strength enough credit. So it wasn't until I was a few years in just to realize like following the breadcrumbs and trusting the process. Like, I'm good with the unknown. I enjoy figuring stuff out. I mean, if you're in entrepreneurship, like you don't know what the future holds. I mean, no one really does, but like, you don't know what the future holds. One new client, one email, one call can completely just like, okay, and we've got work and we're doing this campaign. And so just trusting that that is always going to happen. Simultaneously moving your feet while you pray, which is an African proverb that I pay attention to a lot and I'm always saying. So you're not just going, golly, I hope I have clients, but you're out there networking, you're talking to people, you're giving out what you want to get back. Like I've just seen the benefit of that over and over and over again, year after year after year.
Yeah. Two things I think that stood out for me for that is one, showing up is different and it can mean different things for many people. Like kind of how you just outlined, it could be that you're networking and continuing to talk to people and like nurturing those relationships. It could be that you're just physically putting in the work at 7 a.m. in the morning and waking up and answering emails. Like there's so many different ways to show up. Um, which is so important to recognize because sometimes you aren't able to show up in certain ways, but you're still showing up in other ways to try to like really carry you through. So I feel like that's a huge thing. And then the second thing is a task or an exercise that I heard few years back that I actually tried was asking your friends and family to like ask them what they think you're good at, like what their perception is of what you're good at, your strengths or your weaknesses, things like that. Because sometimes you don't even realize it, kind of like what your example was. Like you don't realize you're doing something that could be built out to be a business or it could be built out to be something.
Totally. I mean, we're all like that where it's like, oh, sure, I can help you, no problem. Like, be it putting together a playlist, planning a wedding, like creating a launch party, organizing a whole, marketing program for a course, or like, okay, you want to launch this product? Okay, get the like all the different bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Not everyone's good at everything. And so some people's brains are just wired differently. And I think we do just kind of take it for granted because you're like, oh, like organizing your bachelorette party, like, oh my God, that'd be so much fun. Of course I would do that. Like you would never think that that is a skill set that's monetizable, that is in demand, that other people are not good at, but yet all those things are true.
Yeah. But that's the thing is it's one thing recognizing it. It's another thing actually doing something about it, like
Right.
putting things into motion. Because yes, you could be at all good at all these things and you're just continuously doing them for friends or family, but you're just either A, not pushing yourself to build something, or B, maybe it's just not something that you want to build. Either way, it takes action. Like it's one thing to recognize it, but it's another thing to act on it and show up.
Yeah.
And like try to figure out what that means for you if you want to start building it, if you want to start building your network, your clients, whatever that might look like for you.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like, don't make your hobby your work because then you get resentful of it. Maybe part of that conversation you have with yourself is just like, oh, I like it, but like not enough to monetize it or not enough to like make it my thing. Or like, I just want to keep it to be my art, like my fun side project where I'm creative. Or yes, this is something I'm ready to do, eat, sleep, breathe, 24/7 for the next 3 years. Like I have enough content. I have 200 ideas of things I want to do. Like you got to make sure you don't run out of energy and ideas and creativity. Because if you're like in on it, right, and you start showing up for it and you're like, this is the thing, in 2 months, you can't be like, oh, well, that was it. Like, I got nothing more. You really need to like, okay, think of 30 ideas, think of 30 more, think of 100 more. Okay, then maybe think about this is something you could do, you know, until the end of time.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because that's kind of what I'm going through right now. And I think it's so relevant to speak towards in terms of like, I have streamlined things for Small Biz Diaries and I have all of this stuff planned out. And it's still a step in the sense that like having to make the action, like actually do it, like actually have the like sit down time to,
Yeah.
make sure you're carving out the time to plan out the episodes and like talk to everybody that you need to talk to and have a system for it, right? And so sometimes there is I would say, learning curve in terms of like, okay, how much time is this realistically taking me, or how much energy do I really need to put into this to be able to continue to have the longevity of it? And then also grounding yourself in, like, I always go back to like every time I have a conversation on Small Biz Diaries, it re-energizes me. It shows me how important these conversations
Mhm.
are, and it definitely helps ground the longevity of the concept and the inspiration for me behind it. But then there's also like realistic components that need to go into it. Like,
Right.
okay, you recorded an episode, but like you still have to do all the steps
Yeah.
to
Yep.
make it go live. So I'm giving that honestly to my audience as a vulnerability component for me, because it's still very realistic part of the show. But then also to speak towards how showing up has to look a little different, and can look a little different depending on what phase you're in. And
Mhm.
there is a learning phase, but then there's also just like the practicality of it all.
Absolutely. I mean, just, keep showing up like whatever that looks like. And if anyone, works with a fitness trainer, it's like, or you just work out, your 100% is going to look different every single day just from like where you're at. And so it may not be the 100% you gave yesterday when you were doing arms to back, and today you're doing legs and you're super tired. But like as long as you give 100%, you're like, I gave my 100% today for this moment. Great. That's all, someone can ask. That's all we can ask of ourselves. And just to give yourself the grace in understanding that. So maybe one day all you can do is edit two podcasts.
Yeah.
And you're like, the marketing, the social media promotions, not today, not
Mhm.
creative. Like some days you just need to kind of get in the weeds on stuff. And then other days, maybe you have a spark of creativity and you're like, okay, I'm going to do 5 reels to promote my next 5 episodes, and recognizing like just kind of where you are, especially for women, like where we are in our cycle totally impacts all this kind of stuff and like how we show up. So,
Yeah. And I think that's the unsexy part, right? Is that like you're not, you see it, I think, a lot more nowadays, which I'm so happy about, of people really showcasing the behind the scenes and like trying to narrate the fact that there's so much more that goes into
mhm.
a day to day as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner. But at the same time, it is very unsexy, right? Like that sometimes doesn't make good content or doesn't make good conversation in terms of like what you just outlined, like, oh, today I was only able to do this. And it was really not a lot. But for me, it was my what I could give for today.
Mhm.
Giving yourself that grace and going through that process of what that even means for you, like what giving yourself grace feels like, looks like, because it's just so different for everybody. And we have like different processes around like the guilt of not working on
Mm.
something and doing something. So it's almost like having to unpack all of that too, which is a part of the process.
Yep, it definitely is. And I feel like it's, the non-sexy stuff. If we think of the sexy stuff being like what goes on social media, you're at an event, like this is what I did, whatever the metrics are of something. In my world, it's like, oh, did this many campaigns or close this many deals or, invoice this amount if there's a number around it or something that's quantifiable. Yeah, all the things I had to do to get there is like all the stuff that's not pretty. The up early, working late at night, just making different choices about when I'm working or sacrifices to, for me, like if I need to get something done, it's like I'm up early in the morning because once everyone else is up in my emails, it's like I can't get to what I need to do because I'm solving everyone else's other, problems. So maybe it's like getting up early and working on stuff, or it's working on an airplane and paying for Wi-Fi, and you're just sitting there toiling away. So yeah, it's all that stuff that's just not the pretty stuff, but it is what had to happen to show the pretty fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think has helped you in moments where it's hard to show up or like there's other stuff happening in your life that it's harder to show up?
I will say earlier in my like entrepreneurial career, I started in my 30s, I'm 46 now. I probably, even if something took me like 4 times as long because you're just maybe in a headspace or like in a funk or just in a moment where you're like, this isn't working, I probably push through because that's just what every woman in her 30s mostly does, right? You just sort of like keep going. I will say now that I'm older and wiser for sure, I will just stop and give myself the grace to be like, it's not worth it. Like it's, you know, things for me in the afternoon, later at night. Like I said, I'm much better in the morning, and I will now just give myself the grace, especially if it's like agreements or writing or like creative things that just need focus, that I can't kind of fit in pockets of other emails and stuff. I will just know to stop and be like, okay, it's not, maybe it's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday and I'm like, I'm in a brain fog. I can't do this. I'll just stop instead of trying and trying and trying. And then I'll get up the next morning and I'm like, I'll just do it in 20 minutes because I just know I'll be in a better headspace. So I
Yeah.
will give myself that grace now. If I'm in a funk, in a mood, in a brain fog, I'll go for a walk. Like this world, it will always be here. You know, it's not, my work is not an emergency. There's nothing that's an emergency about it. Brands and agencies may think things are time sensitive, but nothing is time sensitive. So for me, just to like walk away, meet a friend, have a coffee, read a book, even sometimes just sitting on my front porch on a sunny day and just like reading for half an hour completely helps me reshift instead of going, I think you said this at the very beginning. I forget how you worded it, but just that like constant thing of like you should be doing something instead of going, oh my God, it's Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Like I'm supposed to be working.
Right.
Versus saying, Johanna, you've been up since 5. Like you've already had an 8-hour day. Like you're good. You can stop if you want. You know, you're running out of gas. You have an event later tonight. You're filming a podcast. Like, you know, you're doing things that are not maybe the work, right? It seems as sometimes we have this idea of like what the work is, which no one can really identify, but you feel like, oh, I'm supposed to be working.
Yeah.
It's like, what? My creators are not sitting behind their laptops all day just doing this. Like they're out creating content. So yeah, now I give myself the grace of just, I'm much quicker to recognize it. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, bye. Whatever I need to do to reset, I will absolutely just go do it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. A lot of people get so caught up in like the working bubble or just like the bubble of, needing to get things done. But sometimes that's almost like you're overdoing it. And
Right.
that's what ends up leading to burnout. And I definitely agree in the sense that some of my best, I think, moments of decision making and or clarity with my business and or direction have been when I take those breaks. And I'm not even saying like a week long break, 2 weeks, which obviously will also help, but sometimes it's like a weekend or a day where I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to go in nature or go to the beach and spend some time in the water
Yeah,
and recenter myself, or kind of like you said, go outside and read a book. We're small little specks in the universe
totally.
that it's just so sometimes we just get so caught up in this bubble that of where we're at, where we're living, that we don't realize there's just a whole world out there that what we're doing on a day to day, yes, it matters, but at the same time it's so important to take care of ourselves and to try to like work towards us as humans just being healthy and being present. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's so important as a reminder to say that showing up looks different sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, I get some of my best ideas. And actually, even this morning, I was like, okay, there's so much, just I've got a lot going on in personal life, professional life, just a lot of noise, you know? And so I've been a little bogged down in the weeds. Creativity's been like kind of, it's still there, but I'm like not as inspired because I just don't have the capacity, and other like silly minutia stuff is sucking me in. And so even just to like go to my boyfriend's house and sit and, work there for like, oh, if we have plans in the evening, it's like, I'll just drive down and sit in his front room. I'll put my AirPods on. I don't even put music on, but it just like sets my brain to just literally like shut things out. And they'll journal, be creative. Like for me, sometimes just shifting up my location. For me personally, I know it's not for everybody, but like kind of helps me just resettle in and is enough of a little reset. I'm like, okay, what are the big rocks? What matters? What's important? Okay, these silly emails, you you can do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, taking a bath, going for a walk. It's like I'll get ideas for reels, have a conversation with a friend, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I saw this thing, and I thought you could do it." And I'm like, "Oh." I like voice note myself captions all the time or ideas. It's hard to get away to that white space of stuff because again, you feel like you should be doing the worky things, which
Right.
apparently are just probably really, I think we all define as like sitting in front of the laptop. But the reality is like there's so much clarity and like ideas that come from not having anything. I mean, sometimes I'll just lay on my sofa and I'll just sit there and be like thinking about stuff. And again, I have the best ideas, like the most creative stuff when you're just not working, but you're working, but you're not working.
Yeah, and I think it's such a there's a lot of like things happening contextually right now with the corporate world, and on the flip side of like 4-day work weeks, of whether that would ever be a
Right.
thing, and or a lot of startups and other businesses are incorporating like sabbaticals or just like bigger time off periods for people to
Yeah.
feel more refreshed coming back and being able to be more productive because they're noticing like, I mean, culture and employee happiness and all of this stuff. I think that's why a lot of people turn to entrepreneurship to try to get more of that flexibility on their own. Obviously, there's other reasons as well, but it's weird when you enter entrepreneurship. Yes, you have more flexibility, but it's almost like you end up putting a lot of more pressure on yourself as well.
Yeah.
So it's like somewhat ironic too, because obviously you want to succeed and there's a lot more on the line sometimes because you don't have things to fall back on. But still, it's such an important process to go through of like figuring out what that showing up means for you. And that's why I think I love this topic so much and the title of this specifically, because it's like one might look at the title and say, oh, showing up every day. Well, that's something that sucks, but I guess I have to do it. But it's not, we're not saying that like it has to be 100,000% every day. And that's the secret. Like that's the like way that you can get ahead and, make it big. It's just the fact that showing up looks very different for so many different people. And that's the unsexy part. Is like no one's really talking about that.
Absolutely. Um, I'm gonna butcher this James Clear quote from Atomic Habits. We rise to the success of our, or like to the depth of our goals, like however big our goals are, like we rise to those, but we sink to the success of our systems and our habits.
Mm,
Because you can have those, but if you're not doing that, showing up, and you're not having consistency around like what you're, I'll just say married to in terms of like in this case work and entrepreneurship and like what you're committed to doing, and be it your work, be it your art, something that how you earn your living, or something
right.
that fulfills you on the side. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, that is so right. Because everyone talks about like, oh, what are your goals and what are your dreams and like manifest stuff. But the reality is, and I love this too, where I'm like, but what are you doing every day? Like, how are you? Okay, you want that thing? What are you doing every damn day
Yep.
to show up for that thing? And I remember, the stats around however many percentage of entrepreneurs are no longer here after 18 months of like once they started their business. I remember back when I started being a health coach in 2011, 2011, 2012, 2013, and noticing like, oh, wait, all these other peers of mine who also started nutrition coaching businesses, health coaching businesses weren't there anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember sort of, theoretically looking around me being like, wow, I'm sort of on this journey by myself. Like I had some peers and colleagues and everyone's stuff happens, you get distracted, not as committed, whatever, that's fine. And people have asked me like, "Oh, how are you? How have you been successful?" And I was like, I honestly just kept showing up. Whether it's just my mom reading my newsletter, social media wasn't as big of a thing now, but if you're posting, you get 5 likes and the same 3 people commenting, great. You keep showing up for those 5 people and, those 8 people who keep engaging on your content. It'll be 80, it'll be 800, it'll be 8,000. It only gets there because you keep showing up and being consistent. So like that James Clear quote, I just love it because it's so true around what are your habits? Like
Yeah.
how are you being consistent around how you're showing up for work? And again, as we're saying, it could be that, you just do something different every day based on where you're at, but you're just building that habit of even when things are tricky, you're like, nope, this is my big rock. Like I'm going to do something, right? It's like eat the frog. Do one thing that's like really hard every day.
Yep.
and the rest of it doesn't seem as hard. And so for me, it's been a decade plus being an entrepreneur. I mean, I couldn't imagine ever working for anybody else. I've never had any sort of traditional work experience, but now it's like I just have that habit of showing up. So I know that I just keep showing up. And that's why I think a big part of why I'm still here and why I'm still, continue to have success year over year is because I just keep showing up for myself. Even if I'm like, oh, it's only this many people on Instagram, or oh, it's only this many people on my newsletter. Doesn't matter. I'm talking to the right person.
I don't know if this came from the James Clear quote, or like concept, but my husband actually recently showed me something that was talking about how if someone were to follow you around for a week and not say anything to you, just follow you around, what would they be able to know what your priorities are right now? Like, would they be able to, yeah, would they
I
be able
love
to
that.
know like what you're working towards? I love that because it could be something small, but if you're doing it every day or if you're doing it every other day, they're going to notice, okay, like that person in this hypothetical situation is going to notice this person's working towards this. Like this is a
Right.
part of their routine to try to work towards this, no matter if they only answered 10 emails or reached out to 10 people today, you know? So it's just such a concept that I think is so important to outline in the sense of just giving yourself that grace, like we continue to talk about, but then also like finding out what showing up means for you today with all of your other variables that you have going
Yeah.
on, like, which is a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to shut out that noise. I love that visual of like if someone just followed you around for a week, what would they be able to determine what your priorities and your big rocks are? Yeah, and it's hard to shut out the noise of like, oh, I need this, or hey, can you help with this? Or oh, can you do this? It's hard to have boundaries and be like, I can help you tomorrow, or circle back tomorrow, or I can help you, but it's not going to be today. It's hard to say no to people. A lot of people are people pleasers. So we, want to keep everyone happy. But it is also one of the best things you could do is set those boundaries and, not respond to emails on the weekend. I will write emails on the weekend for sure sometimes if I'm like, I don't know, in the zone, like just I'm like, I want to catch up on something. I want to work, or like, actually, I don't really want to work, but doing an hour would just kind of clear my brain on some stuff, right? I'm
Mhm.
happy to do that. It's my own choice, as long as it's my choice. But I will schedule all those emails for Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning because I don't want to teach people
Yeah.
like I'm working on the weekends because I'm not. You text me, my clients know you text me on the weekends, I will get back to you on Monday.
Yeah. And as soon as you open that can of worms, it's just not,
Oh, yeah.
it's hard
Yeah.
to go back from that. So I love that little tidbit because I think that's like a jewel of advice to know from the beginning. So yeah, I mean, in this title, we're talking about business success, but it's the compounding success that happens through
Mhm.
showing up every day. So I just can't thank you enough for like sharing all that you shared with your own journey specifically, but like what has helped you and how you're navigating yourself. And, you shared you're also like getting stuck creatively and like trying to find your own like new routines, which is so common sometimes, not
Yeah.
sometimes, it's so common in entrepreneurship. Like we're having different stages of our businesses at different times while other things are happening around us as well. So it's just so important to continue to have that like take inventory of yourself on that and then figure out what needs to happen from there. But I wanted to ask you a question that we ask all of our guests. And that question is, if you were to talk or give yourself advice when you first started your talent
Mm.
agency, what advice would you have given yourself?
Oh gosh. What advice would I give myself? It's something I know, but I think it's just good to continue to vocalize, and perhaps I've reminded myself earlier in the journey is continue betting on yourself, Joanna. Like just
Mhm.
continue betting on yourself because it always works. It always pays off. It always works. I always figure it out. I always come out on top. But yeah, continue to bet on yourself, Joanna. Like trust your gut and bet on yourself.
Love that. And then the next and last question is, what does it mean to you when someone supports you as a small business owner?
Oh gosh. I mean, it's the best. Like it's, you just feel so seen and you're like, all that hard work paid off, right? It's like whether it's a like or a comment or an email or something, or a client just, hey, thanks for doing that. Like, I really appreciate it. It's like, golly, you're like, okay, cool. I'm good.
It's true. It just adds like little gems that help you continue moving along. Yeah, I love that answer.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a small business, like everything's personal. It's so personal. The people we meet with, the people we work with, our clients, like it's so intentional and it's so conscious. So to have that support is just like lovely positive reinforcement on making good choices and knowing that your work is, like I said, just seen and paid off, because it isn't, because, the whole, like, whatever, you pay a small business entrepreneur and like they do a happy little dance somewhere or something like
Right.
that, right? You buy local. It's like sort of like that, because it really is impactful. You recognize on like, okay, if I bring in another client, I can do this. And what I have found working with most women is it's not, ooh, that's more money for me, but it's like, okay, well, I can then fly my family out to visit me, or I can fly home to visit, my family more. I can bring the house cleaner in another day per month, and then you're supporting another small business. It like just fully supports the larger ecosystem of female entrepreneurs, which, I hear that all the time and I see that ripple effect. So it really does. Yeah, it's just a lovely thing, because it truly has like such a positive impact and really contributes to the larger ripple effect of like so many of our successes.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I love the way you just described that. It's so impactful, and we pour so much of ourselves and our
Mhm.
work into it. So it's just, yeah, such so beautifully said. But I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us and really opening up about your journey. And I will leave all of the information on how to connect with Johanna in the description, but I also want to give you the opportunity to just let people know if there's something that they can do to connect with you in particular.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening that is a creator and wants a gut check on rates or something, which is what I often have people wondering about, I'm happy. You're welcome to slide into my DMs and kind of give me a little context on whatever the situation is. I'm happy to give you a little feedback, or probably tell you to up your rates, because that's usually what I tell most people to do. Most people are undercharging. So I'm happy to do that. I'm on Instagram. If you're a talent manager, like an up and coming, earlier in your stage talent manager, I have a talent manager coaching program, an 8-week program of mentorship, which I love. And like everyone who goes through it has ridiculous success, which is awesome. So like closing 6-figure deals, building out their roster, just building out their confidence. I have negotiation scripts. Like my website has a ton of resources for people. Like I know there's not a lot out there from influencer talent manager perspective. So I do my best to be as transparent and kind of pull back the curtains. My LinkedIn, my Insta, my website, they're all like full of as much resources and help as I possibly can offer.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, you guys heard it here. Like, there's a lot of unsexiness when it comes to like having to show up every day, but I promise, like, all of those things will compound and it will end up leading you to that much closer to your goals. Like, it's just taking those steps every day and like really working towards it. So, yeah, thank you so much, Joanna. I really appreciate it. And I hope and encourage everybody to connect with her.
My pleasure. It was lovely to be here. And thanks everybody for listening.